2 to 3 questions from this chapter. CET 1 or 2 questions. And the important topics of the chapter, you need to study the structure of all the cell organelles of eukaryotic cell, the different cell organelles which are membrane bound, which are non-membrane bound, their structure and the function also you need to study of all the cell organelles. The question may arise from any of the topic, and same holds good for prokaryotic cell also. And the prokaryotic cell structure, different components of prokaryotic cell also you need to study. The difference between the prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell you need to study. And there are certain extra information that I have already given in the regular classes, and some of the bits regarding those extra information also I have been discussing in this class. Those things you need to study. So let us discuss some of the important questions in the chapter. Let us have a look at the first slide. Centrosome is not present in. Centrosome is not present in is the question. Centrosome is a structure which is composed of two cylindrical centrioles like this that are arranged perpendicular to each other. Centrosome is composed of two cylindrical structures which are called centrioles, and these centrioles are present in amorphous pericentriolar matrix. This is pericentriolar matrix. And these two are the centrioles. These two are the centrioles. Together, the structure is called centrosome. Centrosome is usually composed of microtubulin proteins or tubulin proteins. Triplets of tubulin proteins are arranged peripherally. Around 9 peripheral triplet tubulin proteins are present. So the arrangement of tubulin proteins in the centriole is 9 plus 0. Centrioles are composed of tubulin proteins. Triplet, that is 3 subunits. 3 subunits of tubulin protein will be present in the each unit, and such around 9 subunits will be present that are arranged peripherally. At the center, the tubulin proteins are absent, so arrangement is called 9 plus 0 arrangement. So a structure that is composed of two centrioles which are arranged perpendicular to each other that are present in a pericentriolar matrix is called the centrosome. The pericentriolar matrix is also called kinoplasm. It's called kinoplasm, and the structure is called the centrosome. These centrioles basically are involved in the formation of flagella. They are involved in the formation of flagella and cilia. And in case of animal cells, they are also involved in the formation of spindle fibers. In case of animal cells, they are also involved in the formation of spindle fibers. So, the question is, the centrosome is not present in. Centrosomes are usually present in all the groups of animals, whether the lower or the higher animals. They are usually present in lower plantae also, such as the members of algae, but they are absent in all the higher groups of plants. Now look at the options. They are not present in cells of higher plants is the option. The centrosomes are absent in case of higher plants. They are present in all the different groups of animals and also in case of lower plants. The second one, the centromere is present. Centromere is also called primary constriction. It is also called primary constriction. In certain chromosomes, a secondary constriction will be present. Like this. A secondary constriction will be present. And this secondary constriction is called Norwegian or nucleolus organizer region, or it is called secondary constriction. So why it is called Nor or nucleolus organizer region? Because this is the region where the nucleolus is attached or nucleolus gets organized. So the secondary constriction is present only in some chromosomes only. If you consider human chromosomes, the secondary constriction is present in the chromosome number 13, 14, 15 and 21 and 22. In case of human beings, secondary constrictions are present in 13, 14, 15, 21 and 22 chromosomes. So the secondary constriction, which is also called nucleolus organizer region, the question is part of the chromosome after the secondary constriction. So they are asking about this part of the chromosome, which is present after the secondary constriction. So this part of the chromosome, which is present after the secondary constriction, is called satellite. It is called satellite. Right? These act as the chromosomes that are in which the secondary constriction is present, act as a marker chromosome. Right? So the option D is the correct answer. That is satellite. This region was called satellite. And the chromosomes that have a secondary constriction are also called SAT chromosomes. Chromosomes that have a secondary constriction are also called SAT chromosomes. Then the next slide. Tubulin proteins occur in. Tubulin are the group of proteins. The question is where exactly they occur. Usually, tubulin proteins form a network-like structure which are called microtubulin. Microtubulins or microtubules or tubulins form a structure called microtubules, and these are usually present in the cytoskeleton. The tubulin proteins are usually present in the cytoskeleton. They are also involved in the formation of spindle fibers during the cell division. Cytoskeleton, which is a network-like structure that provide a mechanical support to the cell, usually is composed of microtubulin, intermediate filaments. It's composed of microtubules, intermediate filaments, and also microfilaments. These are the three components that are present in the cytoskeleton. So the tubulin microtubules are basically composed of tubulin proteins. So tubulin proteins occur in the microtubules. Again, the microtubules they form a cytoskeleton in the cell and provide a mechanical support, and are also involved in the formation of spindle fibers during cell division. Quantosomes, the next slide. The quantosomes are found in. Quantosomes are the photosynthetic pigments. They are photosynthetic units. Quantosomes are photosynthetic units, and each quantosome Quantasomes are the photosynthetic units. Each quantasomes are composed of around 230 to 250 chlorophyll molecules and around 50 carotenoids. And by looking at the word, the photosynthetic units are the chlorophyll and carotenoids, you can guess where exactly they are present or what exactly their function is. Right? These quantasomes are organized into photosystems in case of plants. And in the photosynthesis chapter we have studied there are two photosystems, namely photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. The quantasomes are organized into photosystems, two different photosystems in case of higher plants, and these are usually present on the thylakoid membrane. The quantasomes are present on the thylakoid membrane and they capture different wavelength of light, sunlight, and help in the process of photosynthesis. So obviously, where these quantasomes are present? The quantasomes are present in the chloroplast. Chloroplast is the structure that is involved. The entire photosynthetic process takes place in the chloroplast. So the quantasomes are present in the chloroplast. They are nothing but the photosynthetic units that are composed of chlorophyll molecules and carotenoids. Carotenoid in turn include xanthophyll as well as carotene. The next slide. In which of the following you expect to find glyoxysomes? In which of the following would you expect to find glyoxysomes? The glyoxysomes are membrane bound structure, usually single membrane bound structure. They are membrane bound structure that contains enzymes of glyoxylate cycle. Glyoxysomes are the single membrane bound structure which are rich in the enzymes that are involved in the glyoxylate cycle. Glyoxylate cycle operates to convert fat into carbohydrate. Glyoxylate cycle operates to convert fat into carbohydrate. Obviously, now you can guess. So if the glyoxylate, the very function of glyoxylate cycle is to convert the fat into carbohydrate, that means the glyoxysome should be present in the part of the plant body that are rich in the fat. Now look at the options. Endosperm of the wheat, which is not an option. Endosperm is a nutritive tissue for the growing embryo. Endosperm of the castor. Wheat is not an option. Endosperm of wheat is not an option because wheat is basically rich in the starch. Endosperm of the castor. Castor is a plant. The seeds of the castor are very rich in the oil. We extract castor oil from the seeds. So obviously endosperm of the castor is very rich in oil, and that fat has to be converted into carbohydrates through glyoxylate cycle. So the glyoxysomes are endosperm of the castor are rich in the glyoxysomes. The other options are palisade cell in the leaf. Palisade cells, again anatomy class we have discussed. These are the specialized chlorophyll cells, parenchyma cells that are rich in the chloroplast, which are involved in the photosynthesis, not an option. Root head, obviously not an option. The function of root head is to absorb the water. The non-membranous organs are, and you have options. Usually, the characteristic feature of all eukaryotic cells is that they have membrane-bound organelles in them, which is called biomembrane. Say for example, mitochondria, if you consider, the mitochondria is a double membrane bound structure. Like this, you have two membranes that are unit membrane or biomembrane, we call them as. So here the question is, which of the following is a non-membranous organelle? The first option is centriole in the first slide we have discussed what are centrioles. These are the structures that are involved in the formation of cilia and flagella. They are basically composed of tubulin protein. 9 plus 0 arrangement I told you. 9 plus 0, 9 tubulin triplets are present to form a structure called centriole. So obviously there is no membrane, and these centrioles are surrounded by amorphous pericentriolar material I told you. So centriole is not it is a non-membrane bound organelle. The second is ribosomes. Again, ribosomes are also non-membrane bound structure. They are basically composed of a type of RNA called rRNA or ribosomal RNA. Along with rRNA, proteins are present. There is no membrane for the ribosomes also. So the ribosome is also right answer. Nucleolus. Nucleolus is a small spherical structure that is present in the nucleus of eukaryotic organisms and usually is a site of synthesis of rRNA. It is a site of synthesis of rRNA. So, ribosomes, which is also called ribosomes, so not rRNA, ribosomes. So, it is also called ribosome factory of the cell. This is also a non-membrane bound structure. So, since all three are non-membrane bound structure, the right answer is all of these. All the three structures, centriole, ribosome, nucleolus, are non-membrane bound structure. Chemiosmotic theory of ATP synthesis. Before that, say the nucleolus again is the site of synthesis of rRNA, ribosomal RNA. So it is called ribosomal factory of the cell. The chemiosmotic theory of ATP synthesis in the chloroplast and mitochondria is based on chemiosmotic theory is a theory proposed by a scientist called Peter Mitchell. The theory basically explains the formation of ATP. It explains the formation of ATP both during photosynthesis and respiration. It explains the formation of ATP both during the photosynthesis as well as respiration. According to chemiosmotic hypothesis, during the electron transport chain, whether it is in photosynthesis or it is in respiration, during the electron transport chain, accumulation of protons takes place. In case of photosynthesis, accumulation of protons takes place in the lumen of the thylakoid, whereas in case of respiration, accumulation of protons takes place in the intermembrane space. That is, the mitochondria has two membranes like this, outer membrane, inner membrane, and accumulation of protons takes place in the intermembrane space. Whereas here it is in the photosynthesis, it is in the thylakoid lumen. And why does accumulation of protons takes place? The accumulation of protons is due to the electron transport chain. When the protons accumulate in the thylakoid lumen or in the intermembrane space, they need to be pumped back. When the protons are being pumped back into the matrix of the chloroplast or into the mitochondrial matrix, the F0, F1 particle which is present on the membrane gets activated. It has the ATP synthetase activity and it combines a molecule of ADP with inorganic phosphate, resulting in the synthesis of ATP. Now the question is, the chemiosmotic theory of ATP synthesis is based on what? Both in case of chloroplast as well as mitochondria. As I mentioned, it is because of the proton gradient that is generated. In case of mitochondria, proton accumulation takes place in the intermembrane space. In case of chloroplast, accumulation of the protons takes place in the thylakoid lumen. So the option A is the right answer. That is have a detailed look how exactly the chemiosmotic hypothesis works. The next is polysome is formed by. Polysome is formed by. Polysome is a structure where a single mRNA is bound by many ribosomal subunits during protein synthesis. As a structure where single mRNA strand is associated with many ribosomes and each ribosomal complex is involved in the synthesis of protein. That is translation process we call it as. It is involved in the process of, say here also the translation is taking place, here also, here also, here also. So the protein synthesis is taking place. Where do you see this? The polysome structure is basically seen in case of prokaryotic organisms. Why prokaryotic organisms? In case of prokaryotes, transcription and translation are coupled reaction. That is, they take place at a time to save the time so that the cells can multiply at a very faster rate. The transcription and translation are coupled reaction. One more reason why it is coupled reaction is that in case of prokaryotes, the replication of DNA, transcription, translation, all the three processes takes place in the cytoplasm only, unlike that of eukaryotes, where replication and transcription takes place in the nucleus, translation takes place in the cytoplasm. So here the polysome is formed because here in case of prokaryotes it is a coupled reaction. Single mRNA will be bound by many ribosomal complex. Each complex is involved in the process of translating the same mRNA strand, so that many protein subunits are formed at a time. The same type of protein, of course. The many subunits of the same protein are formed at a time. So look at the options. Several ribosomes attached to the single RNA. Many ribosomes attached to the strand of endoplasmic reticulum. So for this, option will be rough endoplasmic reticulum, not the polysome. A ribosome with the several subunits. All ribosomes for that matter are with the several subunits. That is not the answer. A ribosome attached to each other in a linear arrangement is also wrong answer. So what is the answer? Several ribosomes attached to the single RNA is the right answer. Which of the following features are correct regarding the ribosome? So you have several statements there. The first statement, the ribosomes are non-membrane bound. Of course, as earlier we discussed, this is the correct statement because ribosomes are basically composed of rRNA and proteins. They are composed of rRNA and proteins. They don't have any membrane surrounding them. Absent in plastids and mitochondria. See, the plastid and mitochondria are called cell within a cell because they are semi-autonomous in nature, as they have their own genetic material, they have their own special type of ribosomes, and they can synthesize certain proteins that are required for them. So they are called semi-autonomous structure or cell within the cell. And as I mentioned, both plastid as well as the mitochondria, they have their own special type of ribosome, that is 70S type of ribosomes are present both in the plastid and mitochondria. So this statement is wrong. What the statement says? The ribosomes are absent in mitochondria and plastid statement is wrong. Present in the cytoplasm and rough endoplasmic reticulum. Of course, they are present in the cytoplasm as well as in the rough endoplasmic reticulum, the regions where the protein synthesis takes place. Take part in the protein synthesis. protein synthesis takes place. So, except for the second statement, all other statements are correct. So, which option do you go with? 1, 3 and 4. Option D is the right answer. The next one, in prokaryotic cell, the features of prokaryotic cell. The statement is explaining the features of the prokaryotic cell. Enveloped genetic material is present. Enveloped means membrane bound, right? Do you think it's true? No. We all know that the genetic material in prokaryotes is naked. They are called prokaryotes. Pro means incipient. Incipient means not well developed. Carrion means nucleus. So, in all prokaryotes, the genetic material is naked in nature. The genetic material is not bound by any membrane. It is naked in nature. So, the first statement is a wrong statement. Ribosomes are absent. The second statement is also a wrong statement because in all prokaryotes, 70S type of ribosomes are present. These 70S in turn are composed of larger subunit which is 50S, the smaller subunits that are 50S. And in the regular classes I have explained it is now why it is not 50 plus 30. Right? 50 plus 30 is always 70S, not the 80S. I have explained this earlier, taking the concept of the centrifugation. So the second statement is also wrong. An organized nucleus is absent. Yes, in case of prokaryotes, the nucleus is not organized. Nuclear membrane is absent and histone proteins are also absent there. So an organized nucleus is absent. So which is the correct statement? That is only third statement. So option C, only 3 is the correct option. Move on to the next slide. In protoplasm, fat stored in the form of protoplasm is everything except the cell wall. It includes the plasma membrane, cytoplasm and the content of the cytoplasm. Everything together is called protoplasm. So fat is stored in the form of, look at the options, polypeptide. Polypeptide is a long chain of amino acids, right? So amino acid is not a fat. So option 1 is the wrong answer. Polysaccharides, a long chain of carbohydrates, is also wrong option. Nucleoside. Nucleoside is a structure formed by combination of pentose sugar with nitrogen base. Pentose sugar with nitrogen base. Of course, there is no question of fat here at all. So nucleoside is also wrong option. Which is the right answer? So the fat in the protoplasm is stored in the form of triglycerides is the right answer. Spindle fibers are formed by, the next question. The spindle fibers are the fiber or the thread-like structure that are formed during the cell division and are basically involved in the separation of duplicated genetic material or the separation of the chromatids we say. So spindle fibers, earlier slide also while discussing the tubulin protein I have discussed, the spindle fibers are formed by microtubules. Endoplasmic reticulum, again it is involved in the synthesis of fat and protein, not an option. Golgi complex is involved in the formation of glycoproteins and glycolipids, not an option. Peroxisomes, again it's involved in the process of photorespiration, which is also not an option. The microtubules is the right answer. Glycocalyx, a have a cell wall, cell envelope around them, which is composed of three different regions, that is glycocalyx, cell wall and plasma membrane. Now the question is about the glycocalyx, which is a carbohydrate which is present on the cell wall, outermost region of the bacterial envelope. So in many bacteria, glycocalyx of the bacterial cell may occur in the form of a loose sheet. If this sheet bacteria, the envelope has three different layers. The outermost is called glycocalyx. Then the second layer is called cell wall. The third layer is called plasma membrane. Glycocalyx basically will be polysaccharide in nature. The question is, glycocalyx of a bacterial cell may occur in the form of a loose sheet. So when it occurs in the form of a loose sheet over the cell wall like this, and if it is easily washed off, that is if the water falls or if any other physical disturbances are there, it can be removed easily. If it is loosely bound, easily washed off, then it is called slime layer. And if the same glycocalyx is tightly bound over the cell wall, if it cannot be washed off easily, then it is called capsule. And majority of the bacteria in which the capsule are present are pathogenic. Capsule can act as antigen, right? If you remember the Griffith experiment, you can correlate this with the Griffith experiment, the rough strain and the smooth strain. Okay. So if the glycocalyx occurs as a loose layer, easily washed off, it is called slime layer. If it is tightly bound, cannot be washed off easily, and if it is tough, it is called the capsule. Right? So it's an NCERT statement. Look at the options. If it is easily washed off, it is called slime layer, and it may be thick and tough, called capsule. So the right answer is B. Then the next question. Which of the following is responsible for origin of lysosomes? Which of the following are responsible for origin of lysosomes? Lysosomes are single membrane bound structure. They are a part of endomembrane system, that is, certain cell organelles in case of eukaryotes are grouped as endomembrane system since they are functionally coordinated. They are either structurally or functionally coordinated with each other. Now the question is, which cell organelle is responsible for the formation of lysosomes? Lysosomes are the single membrane bound structure that are rich in hydrolytic enzymes, which are called acid hydrolyzers. Since many of these enzymes are active in acidic pH, that is pH 5, and lysosomes are basically formed and packaged by Golgi complex. Golgi complex, which are called as dictyosomes in case of plants. The lysosomes are formed by the Golgi complex. The chloroplasts are the wrong answer because that is the site of photosynthesis. The mitochondria, again the site of respiration, aerobic respiration, wrong answer. Ribosomes are involved in the protein synthesis. So the lysosomes are formed by the Golgi complex is the right answer. Extension of plasma membrane in prokaryotic cell is, in certain prokaryotic cells, vesicles. And these extensions are called, is the question, right? The extension of the plasma membrane in prokaryotic cells are called mesosomes. Ribosomes, they are protein synthesizing machinery. They are present as a small particles in the cytoplasm. Haploid, not related at all to the question. Then, what is the question? The extension of the plasma membrane. These extension of plasma membrane are called mesosomes. These mesosomes are considered as analogous to mitochondria of higher organisms. They are considered as analogous to mitochondria of the higher organisms because these regions are rich in respiratory enzymes. Many respiratory enzymes are present on the mesosomes. Mesosomes also helps in the cell division. They also help in the duplication of the DNA or the replication of the DNA. They also increase the surface area for the enzymatic activity. They have several other functions also, like these many functions they have. They are analogous or they are similar to the mitochondria when it comes to the function, because on the mesosomes many enzymes that are involved in the aerobic respiration are present. So, invagination of the plasma membrane are called mesosomes. A biomembrane consists of a lipid, protein, carbohydrate and water. And these lipid molecules are, the question is about the nature of the lipid molecule. So, biomembrane, the most widely accepted model for the biomembrane or the plasma membrane is fluid mosaic model, which was given by Singer and Nicholson. According to the fluid mosaic model, the biomembrane is composed of lipid bilayer in which proteins are present. Lipid forms a uniform layer, and within the lipid bilayer the proteins will be present here and there. And they call it as the icebergs in the sea of lipid. The structure is compared with a sea of lipid in which icebergs are floating. Or the lipid layer is considered as a syrup of sugar syrup, and proteins are considered as chamoons. Right? So, what are they asking? The biomembrane is composed of lipid, protein, carbohydrate and water. The nature of the lipid proteins they are asking. So, phospholipids are the most common lipids present in the biomembrane. These phospholipids are, they have a hydrophilic head region, which is polar hydrophilic, that is water loving head region, to which two non-polar hydrophobic, that is the molecules that tend to move away from the water, water fearing. Hydrophobic means water fearing, right? Two non-polar tails are attached. Since it has a polar and non-polar region, these lipid molecules are considered as amphipathic in nature. The lipids that are present are amphipathic in nature. So, option B, amphipathic is the right answer. According to widely accepted fluid mosaic model of the cell membrane model, cell membranes are semi-fluid, where lipids and integral proteins can diffuse randomly. In recent years, this model has been modified in several respects. In this regard, which of the following statement is incorrect? They are asking about the incorrect statement. Now, let us have a quick look at the biomembrane or the plasma membrane structure. As I mentioned, it is basically made up of two lipid layers, where the hydrophilic head region is facing towards the are called intrinsic proteins and peripheral proteins. Intrinsic and extrinsic, or intrinsic and peripheral. Intrinsic, which are also called integral proteins. These proteins are present inside the lipid bilayer. They may be partially buried in the lipid layer, or they may be completely buried in the lipid layer. Whereas peripheral proteins are present on the surface like this. The peripheral proteins are attached to the surface of the lipid layer, or some may be partially buried like this in the lipid bilayer, or some may be completely, they traverse through the lipid layer. These both are intrinsic proteins. These are partially buried. These pass through the lipid layer, called tunnel proteins they are called. Now they are asking which statement is incorrect. The lipid layer, the phospholipid bilayer, provides fluidity to the structure. Fluidity means we consider it as a quasi-fluid model. Quasi-fluid means it is not completely solid, neither completely fluid. Semi-fluid we call it as. So, liquidity or fluidity of the phospholipid layer allows lateral movement of proteins in it. Like how icebergs will float in the water, like that, they will not sink. They can move laterally, right? The fluidity of the lipid bilayer allow lateral movement of proteins in it. Now, look at the statements. Proteins in cell membrane can travel within the lipid layer, bilayer. Yes, of course, they can travel. Why they can travel? The fluidity of the bilayer allows the movement of the protein molecules. The first statement is the correct statement. Proteins can remain confined within certain domains of the membrane. Yes, the peripheral proteins that are attached to the certain domains of the membrane, they remain confined there only. Proteins can also undergo flip-flop movement in the lipid bilayer. Flip-flop means the protein that is present on the upper surface can come to the lower layer, or the protein that is present on the lower layer can go to the upper layer. This flip-flop movement is possible in lipids. Lipids in the phospholipid bilayer can flip-flop. That is, this lipid molecule that is present on the upper surface can come to the lower. This can go to the upper surface. The lipids show flip-flop movement in the plasma membrane, but proteins cannot show flip-flop movement. Flip-flopping of proteins is highly energy consuming process, and it usually will not take place. So the third statement is a wrong statement. Lipids can flip-flop, but proteins can never flip-flop. Many proteins remain completely embedded within the lipid layer. Of course, I told you the completely buried proteins can remain completely embedded in the lipid bilayer. This is also right statement. So option 3 is the wrong statement. Which of the following cell organelle stores hydrolytic enzymes? This I already explained you. The lysosome is the answer. The lysosome contains around 40 different hydrolytic enzymes. They are very rich in hydrolytic enzymes, and these hydrolytic enzymes are active at pH 5, which is an acidic pH. Hence, they are also called acid hydrolases. So, lysosomes are rich in the hydrolytic enzymes. Cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of all living organisms according to cell theory. That was given by Schleiden and Schwann. So, what does the statement mean? All the living organisms are composed of a fundamental structure which is called cell. And and we have unicellular and multicellular organisms. The fact that unicellular organisms can survive on their own itself is a proof that the cell is a fundamental structure of any living organisms. This was evidenced by the fact that, so what fact proves the statement that the cell is a fundamental structural functional unit? Look at the first statement. All cells arises by the fusion of two cells. As you all know, when the two cells fuse, the ploidy of the cell doubles. It will not result in the formation of a new cell. A new cell is always formed by the division of the pre-existing cell, which is also one of the theory in the cell theory, or one of the point in the cell theory. A new cell always is formed by the division of pre-existing cell. Hominis cellula e cellulae, which was given by Rudolf Virchow. This was the question in last year NEET. Who proposed the formation of new cell from the pre-existing cell theory? The answer was Rudolf Virchow. So we all know that the new cell is already formed by a division of a pre-existing cell. So, wrong statement. All cells are totipotent. What is totipotency? Ability of a cell to give rise to a new organism is totipotency. So, in case of plants, the totipotency is restricted to meristematic cells. Once the cells are matured, that is, once they become differentiated into parenchyma, clisterenchyma or chlorenchyma, they rarely de-differentiate and become totipotent. So, plant, of course, totipotency is seen to a larger extent, whereas in case of animals, the totipotency is restricted only to the few cells. Right? Not all animal cells can give rise to a new organism. So, this is also a wrong statement. Some cellular components can generate a complete cell. Some cellular components, say for example, mitochondria, a chloroplast, a Golgi complex. What does the statement say? If you have a mitochondria, you can generate a new cell, which is obviously not possible at all. So, this is also a wrong statement. Anything less than a complete structure of a cell does not ensure independent living. So, anything less than a cell cannot survive on its own. Viruses are the best example. They don't have a plasma membrane. They don't have cytoplasm. They are composed of only a proteinaceous code and a genetic material, and they don't have free existence. They are obligate parasites. They are always dependent on other organisms for the survival. So, the fourth statement is the right statement. Anything less than a cell does not have or does not ensure a independent living. Assembly of two subunits, that is 40S and 60S of the ribosome is. Ribosomes are of two types, 70S and 80S. 70S ribosomes are seen in the cytoplasm of prokaryotes. They are also seen in the mitochondria. They are also seen in plastids. Whereas 80S ribosomes are seen in case of eukaryotes. Eukaryotic cytoplasm, and also on rough endoplasmic reticulum. So 70S ribosomes are composed of two subunits, namely 50S and 30S. Along with this, certain proteins will be present. Whereas 80S ribosomes are composed of 60S and 40S. This is a larger subunit, this is smaller subunit. Here also this is smaller subunit, this is larger subunit. Along with 60S and 40S, we have certain proteins. So now the question is about the assembly of two subunits of 40S and 60S. 40S and 60S, when they associate with each other, they form 80S type of ribosomes, which are commonly found in case of eukaryote, that is cytoplasm of the eukaryotes, and also on the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So, option B is the right answer. A cell membrane of eukaryotes is composed of. The composition of the cell membrane we are talking about, and we have discussed it earlier also in the earlier slide. The cell membrane basically is composed of lipids, proteins and carbohydrates. Proteins constitute around 52% of cell membrane of eukaryotic cell. 40% of lipids are present. Remaining these carbohydrates, they are present in the form of glycoproteins and glycolipids. Carbohydrates that are attached to the protein are called glycoproteins. Carbohydrates that are attached to the lipid are called glycolipids. So these, they help in the adhesion of the cell, recognition of the cell. They also act as antigens, right? Glycoproteins and glycolipids I am talking. So what are basically they are composed of? They are composed of, the cell membrane is composed of lipids, proteins and carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are present in the form of glycoproteins and glycolipids. So which is the option? The option D is the right answer. They are composed of carbohydrates, lipids and proteins. So the carbohydrate, lipids and proteins are the right answer. Look at the next slide. In the given diagram of types of chromosome, identify the different types of chromosome is the question. So the diagram has not come in the slide, and you can refer your worksheet. There are 4 diagrams given in the worksheet. The first diagram, there are 4 diagrams given. The first diagram is like this. The second diagram is this. The third one is this. And you have the fourth one like this. These are the 4 diagrams given in your worksheet. You can refer the worksheet. So this is diagram A, B, C, D. This region is centromere, and these are arms metacentric chromosome. So telocentric, acrocentric, submetacentric, metacentric chromosome. That is, this is the right answer. The option 1 is the right answer. Last year's NEET question paper, if you refer, the short arm and the long arm of the chromosomes are also called, is the option. The short arm is also called Q arm, long arm is also called P arm. The short arm is also called Q arm and the long arm is also called P arm. That is the extra information. Read the following statement, identify the correct options. The first statement, in the prokaryotic cell, the nuclear membrane, chloroplast, mitochondria, microtubules, different kinds of pili are absent. Yes, of course, in case of prokaryotic cell, nuclear membrane is absent, chloroplast is also absent, mitochondria is also absent, microtubules are also absent, but pili are present. So, the first statement is wrong statement since their pili are present. Second statement, in eukaryotic cell, nuclear membrane, chloroplast, mitochondria, pili are present. Again, in case of eukaryotic cells, nuclear membrane is present, chloroplast is present, mitochondria is present, but pili are absent. So, the second statement is also wrong statement. In case of prokaryotic cells, ribosome is of 70s time, and in mitochondria of the eukaryotic cell, the ribosome is 80s time. This I explained earlier also. Yes, of course, in prokaryotes 70s type of ribosomes are present, but in mitochondria also 70s type of ribosomes are present. So the third statement is also wrong statement. Which is the right option then? 1, 2, 3, all the 3 statements are wrong statements. In prokaryotes, the chromatophores are. In many prokaryotes, especially in case of photosynthetic bacteria, photosynthetic bacteria have an internal membrane system like this. Internal membrane system, and this internal membrane system, photosynthetic pigments are present. Bacteriochlorophyll, we call it as bacteriochlorophyll. In the internal membrane system, photosynthetic pigments are present in certain bacteria that are photosynthetic in nature. For example, purple sulfur bacteria, green sulfur bacteria, all those are they can synthesize their own food. Right? In those organisms, an internal membrane system is present. Cyanobacteria also, an internal membrane system is present. And this membrane system is called chromatophore. And what do chromatophore contain? They contain photosynthetic pigments that are involved in the process of photosynthesis. What are chromatophores? Specialized granules responsible for coloration of the cells, which is a wrong option. That is, they are not responsible for coloration. Structure responsible for organizing the shape of the organism, which is also wrong. Inclusion bodies lying free inside the cell for carrying various metabolic activities. Inclusion bodies which are also called storage granules that you have studied. Phosphorus granules, or in case of iron bacteria, iron granules are present, or you have to provide the buoyancy, air vacuoles are present. Those are all called inclusion bodies, which is also wrong option. Internal membrane system that may become extensive and complex in photosynthetic bacteria is the right answer. Chromatophores are the internal membrane system. They become extensive, that is more complex in photosynthetic bacteria. They contain photosynthetic pigments in them, to carry out the photosynthesis. yellow or golden yellow in color due to the presence of carotenoids. Chromoplast will be orange, yellow or golden yellow in color due to the presence of carotenoids. So, the chromoplast contain pigment other than the chlorophyll is a right answer. Leucoplast devoid of any pigments. Leuco means colorless. They don't contain any of the pigments. This is also right answer. Amyloplast. Amyloplast are the plastics that act as a storage of starch. But here the option is protein. So this is wrong. Aluroplast are the plastics that store protein. But here they have given oil and fat. So fourth one is also wrong. Elaioplast are the plastics that store oil. But here they have given carbohydrates. The fifth one is also wrong. So what are the correct options? The first and second are only true. That is option D is the right answer. Remaining all are wrong answers. Which of the following cellular organelle is bound by single membrane? First one, so they have given peroxisome, lysosome, mitochondria. Three are given, which is bound by single membrane. Only peroxisome but not lysosome and mitochondria. This is wrong answer because lysosome we already studied it is bound by a single membrane. Both peroxisome and lysosome but not the mitochondria is the right answer. Peroxisomes are special single membrane bound structures. Single membrane bound cell organelles that are involved in the process of photorespiration. They are involved in the process of photorespiration. These are the site of synthesis of peroxide and also the site of synthesis of catalase enzyme. So that may also be questioned. Catalase enzyme is produced by which cell organelle? So peroxisome is the site of synthesis of peroxide and also the site of synthesis of catalase enzyme. Catalase enzyme breaks down hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen. Right? They are single membrane bond. So both peroxisome and lysosomes are single membrane but not the mitochondria is the right answer. Red color in the tomato is due to. Now, carotene is orange or golden yellow pigment. So this is not the right answer. Carotene is wrong. Anthocyanin is again a water soluble pigment that may be blue or purple in color. So anthocyanin is also wrong answer. Anthocyanin again gives color to the fruits, but here because it gives purple or blue color, wrong answer. Erythrocyanin is present in red algae. It's a red color pigment, but it is present in red algae. So this is also wrong answer. Lycopene is the right answer. Lycopene is the pigment that turns green tomatoes into red. When the lycopene concentration increases, the tomato color becomes red. The next one, Plasmodesmata are. This we have studied many times. The Plasmodesmata are the cytoplasmic connection. Cytoplasmic connection between adjacent cells. Two adjacent cells will be connected to each other through a structure called plasmodesmata, a cytoplasmic connection. Now look at the answer. Lignified cemented walls. If the cell is completely lignified, there will be no connection at all. Wrong answer. Locomotory structure is also wrong answer. The plasmodesmata has nothing related to the locomotion of the cell. Membrane connecting the nucleus with the plasma lemma. This is also wrong answer. connection between the two adjacent cells is the right answer. What type of connection it is? Cytoplasmic connection. Cell theory is not applicable to. Cell theory was initially proposed by Schleiden and Schwann. It was proposed by Schleiden and Schwann, later modified by Rudolf Virchow. So these two scientists, for the first time, they proposed that in all the living organisms, cell act as a fundamental, structural and functional unit. All the living organisms, they for the first time proposed that all the living organisms are composed of cell and its products. Later, Rudolf Virchow proposed that a new cell always originates from a pre-existing cell. Right? That is homogeneous cellular E-cellulate. So, if you consider both these points of a cell theory, now look at all these organisms. Bacteria. Bacteria, it is unicellular, capable of surviving on its own. It is capable of surviving as a photosynthetic organism. Some of them, for example, cyanobacteria, many are saprophytic in nature. They survive freely and feeding on dead and decaying bodies. So, it holds good for bacteria. Fungus again. Many fungus are saprophytic. Some of them are parasitic. They are multicellular. They are capable of surviving on their own. Algae. Again, all the algae are free living, photosynthetic, independent in nature. The last is a virus. Virus, as we have studied, it has both living as well as non-living properties, and it cannot survive outside the host cell. So, cell theory is not applicable to the viruses. So, option D is the right answer. Cell theory is not applicable to the virus is the right answer. Which of the following part of endomembrane, which of the following is a part of endomembrane system in eukaryotic cell? As I mentioned, the cell organ, some of the cell organelles in eukaryotes is considered as a endomembrane system because they are structurally and functionally coordinated. They share some common structural feature or they share some common functional characteristic features. So, endomembrane system in case of eukaryotes include Golgi complex, endoplasmic reticulum, lysosomes and vacuoles. These four structures are considered as endomembrane system. Now, which of the following is a part of endomembrane system of eukaryotic cell? And if you look at the option, you have only Golgi complex. So, option D, Golgi complex is the right answer. So, with this I am concluding the discussion of some of the important bits. Again, I am suggesting you to read the textbook thoroughly. Thank you.